Are you as fascinated by the madness of King Donnie as I am? This guy is giving mental illness a bad name. You know, he really is. What a crazy son of a bitch. You're going to take over Gaza. The Mediterranean, or no, the Riviera of the Middle East. Oh, you filthy son of a bitch. Okay, now that I've started tonight's podcast with a string of invectives, let me mention my sponsor tonight. Once again, it's Captain Shucks, a.k.a. Jim Shuckman. Thank you, Jim, so much once again. And you know what Jim's message is. It's this. Everyone should support the Mike Malloy podcast and exercise every day. Well, the second part of that is more important, of course. Exercise every day, especially now. Have you noticed how, I don't know to what degree you focus on the madness of this orange ape. I focus a lot on it, obviously, because I've chosen to report on it, I guess, or talk about it. But when that tension builds up, what I've found, and this is in keeping with what Captain Shucks is recommending here, when it really feels like I'm about to stroke out, that's when I go do some, intense exercise. Walking with weights is one way to do it. A couple of miles, by the way. But you've got to exercise every day, especially now, because the time is coming when all of us are going to have to take to the streets, either armed or unarmed. I don't know yet. But if we're going to defend the Constitution of the United States at some point, unless this bullshit stops legally and peacefully, then we're going to have to do it in the streets, which I also hope will be peaceful. But in case it isn't, that's when it's absolutely necessary to be in good physical condition. Well, I mentioned this yesterday, that this orange Nazi and the son of a bitch who seems to be really running the country, that would be the South African Nazi immigrant Elon Musk. Whatever happened to J.D. Vance? Anybody seen him lately? I mean, seriously, what is that asshole doing? He has disappeared. Now, I realize the vice president function is to be there, an heir and a spare, as they say with the British crown. If Trump dies, JD would allegedly take over according to the Constitution, but I would imagine that if Trump dies, Elon Musk would try to push his way to the front of the line. So JD Vance, wherever the fuck you are, way to go, pal. Greatest disappearing act since Nixon's vice president. Who? Anyway, I mentioned yesterday that the Trump gangsters are drafting an executive order to eliminate the Department of Education. Now, remember who he's already made an appointment to be the Secretary of Education, and that is the wrestle lady, Linda McMahon, this crazy bitch who covered up for members of the wrestling community who were raping children. Little boys? Yeah. Come on, little boy. We'll show you how to, this is like the Catholic Church, for Christ's sake. We'll show you how to be a wrestler. First thing you do, take your clothes off. And Linda McMahon, according to published reports, was fully aware of what was going on in her disgusting fucking organization, WWE or WW shit, whatever it was. Wrestling. Give me a break. But he appointed old Linda to be the Secretary of Education. And yesterday he was asked by a reporter when he gave that monologue in the Oval Office, just the wild, mad ramblings of a half-wit, why he would appoint a Secretary of Education since he was going to get rid of that department. And the orange bastard said this, quote, I told Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put herself out of a job. What the fuck is that? Well, it's what I said, insanity. And the boss of him, the South African Nazi, also confirmed that Department of Education is soon to be nothing more than a memory. He published some bullshit on his bullshit site the other day, yesterday, I guess, the South African Nazi. This is what he posted, quote, Reagan campaigned on ending the Federal Department of Education, which was created by Carter in 1979, but it was bigger when Reagan left office than when he started. Not this time. President Donald Trump will succeed. End quote. The South African immigrant Nazi. Now, Uncle Donnie is going to find out, or what the Christian call the junior Messiah, he will soon find out that, no, I'm sorry, you stupid son of a bitch. You can't just get rid of the Department of Education with the flick of your little ballpoint pen. That's not going to happen. Department of Education, of course, was created by an act of Congress. And it was signed into law by Carter in 79. Gee, Elon got something right. But because of that, because it was an act of Congress, CNN reported that Trump's executive order could slowly diminish the Department of Education. And then this orange Nazi fuck would ask Congress to pass a law dissolving it. Now, he's going after kids in this country in the same way, a certain set of children, the same as Hitler did. Trump wants to get rid of any of the kids in this country in the education system who are so-called special needs. Trump doesn't want that shit. He doesn't want people who have been wounded in battle around him. He doesn't want, unless he's doing a commercial to screw people out of money, he doesn't want any photographs of cemeteries or anything like that. But he's already targeted the Department of Education. He's put dozens of those department employees on administration leave because, horror of horrors, they allegedly worked on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And Trump, of course, wants none of that shit. Only good, solid, preferably male, white people. He'll allow a few Jews and a few Muslims and a couple of really grotesque-looking fuckers who look like they just came off the set of The Walking Dead, like Ketchup Patel, but he wants white men. Hella fucking Luya, huh? So getting rid of the Department of Education, if it happens, would have a devastating effect on kids across the country. For example, the DOE distributes so-called Title I funding. How many of us know what Title I funding is, huh? I don't until I look it up. But that helps schools with high concentrations of low-income students. And the irony is that the majority of those students live in so-called red states where the people are dumber than fucking bag of donuts, doorknobs, some bag of something, and voted for Trump because, well, yeah, I want to get rid of them coloreds. And it's going to be their children. They're dumb. Of course, they don't give a shit because once their kids no longer have a school to go to, they'll just send them to the local bullshit church, right? Huh? Now, the Department of Education also handles something called the IDEA program, IDEA program. That's a program that gives schools money to help deal with the needs of disabled students. Sound familiar? What was one of the first things Hitler did before he even started attacking the Jews? Maybe not before, but right near there, he said, let's get rid of the cripples. Fuck them. They're not good, strong, goose-stepping Aryans. And so he did. So now Trump wants to destroy the agency that assists kids who are, and I'll use the politically correct term, differently abled in our schools. Get rid of them. The Department of Education also, and this is really a kick in the nuts for these white Christian male fuckers, the DOE investigates civil rights complaints. Yeah. Which doesn't mean they're all racially based. The majority of those complaints are filed by students with disabilities. Well, how do you get rid of that? You get rid of the students with disabilities. And how do you do that? You deep six the Department of Education. Problem solved. If you're a Nazi fuck like Donald Trump. Oh, also, Department of Education handles federal student loans and Pell Grants, which, once again, Pell Grants are designed to help low-income kids get in and pay for college once they qualify. Once they are accepted by the college or the university, a Pell Grant will assist in the whatever tuition requirements the kid has to deal with. And Trump doesn't want that either. Trump is the dumbest fucker ever to come down the pipe on any level. I used to say in the political sphere, but he is the most ignorant savage that I have ever seen, who has gotten the kind of focus that he has gotten. Such a dumb bastard. So obviously, he doesn't like smart people. That's why you see Elon Musk, who isn't all that bright himself, but he has more brain power than the orange bastard does. That's why you see Elon Musk bouncing around the fucking stage like a kangaroo half the time. Boing, 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 waving his arms in the air, rolling his eyes. Jesus Christ, where did this shit show come from? Deep breath. Now, part of Trump's Nuremberg-style rallies during the campaign was about ending the Department of Education. So the fact that he's doing what he said he would do is no surprise. And isn't it interesting the way media and me and probably you and anybody who has a comment about this fucker, we always say, well, he said he was going to do it, so he's doing it. Usually it used to be, I think, we reserved that kind of a statement for someone who said they were going to do something good or to improve the lot of all of us here in the proletariat. Or are we the proletariat? Whatever. But not Trump. In a rally back in September, this is what this filthy son of a bitch said. Quote, "We will drain the government education swamp." How do you like that? "And stop the abuse of your taxpayer dollars to indoctrinate America's youth with all sorts of things that you don't want to have our youth hearing." End quote. You son of a bitch, you mean all sorts of things that you and your Nazi cadre don't want to hear. And even though this dumb son of a bitch, this ignorant savage, can't legally get rid of DOE by executive order, it's possible he's going to try. Of course he is. Of course he is. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.